So what if I told you that the strangers you help, the people you fall for, and like the exact moment you decide to break up are all dictated by this hidden economic ledger in your brain? Welcome to a new deep dive where today we're exploring the brighter side of social psychology to uncover why we help strangers, who we fall for, and, why we stay together.
Yeah, and to do this, we are drawing directly from section 12.7 of chapter 12 from Psychology 2E. It provides a really brilliant framework for decoding all these social interactions. And since the concepts get pretty layered, I'll happily put on the lecturer hat to guide us through the material today.
Perfect, because I am definitely ready to be the student here.
Yeah.
My notebook is open, and I kind of want to start with the extremes. When we look at prosocial behavior, like our actual drive to help others, how far does that really go?
Well, it goes all the way to absolute sacrifice, which the textbook defines as altruism. This is helping someone even when the costs heavily outweigh the benefits to yourself. Section 12.7 highlights a really profound example from the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
Yeah. An employee in the first tower successfully guided his coworkers to the exit stairwell, but instead of escaping, he went back into the burning building to save total strangers. He ultimately lost his own life doing so.
Okay, let's unpack this. Acts like that are undeniably heroic, right?
Yeah.
But they always trigger that massive debate about pure altruism.
Right, the whole empathy versus egoism debate.
Yeah. Like that classic argument from the TV show Friends that they mentioned in the textbook. Is any good deed truly selfless, or is it always tied to egoism and like just wanting to feel good about ourselves?
Yeah, that is the core of the debate. Some researchers argue true altruism happens when we engage in pure empathy, basically putting ourselves entirely in someone else's emotional shoes.
Right.
But others argue that helping always serves the ego because, well, we get an internal reward out of it.
But even if altruism has a biological reward, that doesn't necessarily make it selfish. The real insight here is that human biology has evolved to literally reward us for keeping each other alive.
Exactly. We are essentially wired to protect the pack.
But this is where the math gets weird for me. It's wild that a human will pay the ultimate cost for a stranger, yet when it comes to everyday life, we are incredibly stingy about the costs of who we let into our inner circle. How do we actually calculate who gets in?
It actually starts with convenience. The biggest driver for forming relationships is proximity. You bond with people in your dorm or your neighborhood.
Wait, just whoever happens to be close by.
Pretty much. And contrary to the whole opposites attract myth, we are really driven by homophily, the tendency to choose people who share our background, attitudes, and lifestyle.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Doesn't homophily just trap us in these homogeneous bubbles?
No.
Like, doesn't that limit our exposure to diversity entirely?
You're spot on about the diversity risk, yeah. It definitely limits exposure.
And wouldn't raw physical attraction just override all those similarities anyway?
Well, physical attraction absolutely matters. We look for universal markers like symmetry, but it doesn't override the system because of the matching hypothesis.
Matching hypothesis.
Yeah, we act highly practically. We tend to pick partners we view as our equals in attractiveness because, frankly, we know the movie stars out of our league.
Oh, I see.
And out of a very real fear of rejection, we just seek a realistic match.
So finding that match is basically just buying the car, but maintaining it takes an entirely different kind of fuel. How does the textbook define the love that actually keeps a match together long term?
That brings us to Sternberg's triangular theory of love. It requires 3 components: intimacy, passion, and commitment. To achieve consummate love, you need all 3.
So what does this all mean? Because passion naturally fades over time, right?
Yeah.
How do we justify staying in a relationship when things get hard?
What's fascinating here is social exchange theory. We essentially act as naive economists.
So it's naive economists.
Right. We keep a running mental ledger, constantly weighing the relationship's benefits like deep companionship against its costs, which could be boredom or compromises or even the expensive dates.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, as long as the benefits outweigh the costs, we stay.
So we are essentially running a daily subscription model in our heads. The moment the relationship subscription costs more in emotional labor than it provides in perks, we hit cancel.
It is remarkably calculated when you strip away the poetry.
Man, we really went from the ultimate selfless acts of risking everything for a stranger, all the way to acting as emotional accountants tallying up our long-term love lives.
It's a pretty wild spectrum.
It really is. And it leaves you, our listener, with one final thought to mull over. If we truly are naive economists carefully weighing relationship costs and benefits, what happens to human romance in the future if highly advanced AI companions reduce the costs of human friction and compromise to absolute zero? do we still choose each other?